When I walk in a room, heads go down. Behind my back, I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian that's bitter.
When I walk into a room, heads go down behind my back. I'm nothing. I'm just a regular old comedian, bitter and jealous, or so they say. But in my face? No, no, no. The king has walked in, and they have to respect it, only because I'm not taking shortcuts. I haven't been funded by the industry. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about, and they tell you that themselves. I can't do that because I refuse to be bought. You know, Steve Harvey told you he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is, when he stopped doing stand-up, he didn't have those 7 shows. He stopped because he got in a comedy battle, a championship of stand-up with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people, and he lost because I went in on him and exposed that he's actually bald, and that was a wig. That's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. But imagine him coming to tell you another story. Hollywood is on fire as the long-running feud between Katt Williams and Steve Harvey takes a shocking turn. What started as some light back-and-forth banter is heating up, with Katt firing back after Steve threatened to knock him out. Yes, you heard that right. Steve Harvey finally spoke up, and Katt Williams is not backing down. Their feud has been simmering for years, but now it looks like it might just boil over. Steve Harvey's response comes after months of silence. But now the gloves are off. After Katt Williams blasted Steve in a no-holds-barred interview with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, Steve has finally broken his silence. And boy, did he come out swinging. You'll never have a hater who's doing better than you always know that. Don't stop your climb up the wall to address some broke boy who ain't got anything going for himself. You done stopped your progress, climbing up that wall of success to come down here and talk to some punk? Don't do that, man. But am I mad? Yes, because I'm a human being and I used to be a fighter. And listen, I still got hands, they're a little slow, but if you get up on me real close, I can still knock your short ass out. I'll shift my weight and knock your lights out. But I'm just trying to stay calm, trying to keep it cool. But make no mistake, I still got it. If you've been keeping up, you'll remember Katt Williams didn't hold back earlier this year when he called out Steve Harvey and a few other comedians in that Shannon Sharpe interview. He accused Steve of everything from stealing jokes to being a talentless industry plant. Steve played it cool at first, but it was clear that Katt's words hit a nerve. 7 months later, Steve is now threatening to throw down if he sees Katt again. But Katt Williams, known for standing his ground and not taking any mess, wasn't about to let that go. His response? Just as cutting and just as funny. Right now, it looks like things could get physical. Damn, I look good. It's eating you up, Steve. It's eating you alive. With Steve finally breaking his silence and coming out swinging, tensions are through the roof. I got somebody really attacking me right now. I mean, really going after me, man. I'm just waiting to see what God is going to do because they're going to have to get on. Everybody who came after me before, they eventually had to get on because they can't stop me. They can't. Katt Williams started this feud during that no-holds-barred interview on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe. Katt didn't just throw shade, he lit up the entire comedy industry. He went after the biggest names in the business, including Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Cedric the Entertainer, and Ricky Smiley. But some of his most scathing remarks were aimed directly at Steve. Katt claimed that Steve Harvey stopped doing stand-up because he had never done his own tour in 30 years and wasn't funny enough to continue live comedy. He even accused Steve of stealing jokes from other comedians like Mark Curry, saying, "The same Steve that watched Mark Curry do his sitcom and then stole everything Mark had." Katt didn't hold back, calling Steve talentless, a fraud, and suggesting that he had risen to fame by riding on the coattails of more talented comedians like Bernie Mac. One of the most personal jabs came when Katt accused Steve of being jealous of Bernie Mac's success. Katt claimed that Steve was so envious of Bernie that he went behind his back and sabotaged opportunities for him. According to Katt, after Bernie Mac passed away, Steve didn't waste time trying to adopt Bernie's comedic style and legacy for himself. To Katt, this was a betrayal, as Bernie had been an icon in the comedy world, while Steve's alleged actions painted him as someone who couldn't stand the success of his peers. On top of that, Katt accused Steve of lying about his rags to riches story. Steve has often talked about how he was once homeless before he made it big in comedy, but Katt wasn't buying it. Steve Harvey was never homeless. When he and Mark Curry were touring together 25 years ago, Steve was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. Katt claimed Steve had fabricated his past to gain sympathy and boost his image as a success story. Katt also hinted that Steve had been paid off by powerful industry figures to keep quiet about certain controversial topics. According to Katt, Steve wasn't willing to speak out on issues that might hurt his career or standing in the industry, claiming, "They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about." Let's talk about one of the major turning points in this feud, the infamous stand-up battle between Katt Williams and Steve Harvey in Detroit. This championship of stand-up comedy showdown, according to Katt, led to Steve's decision to walk away from live stand-up. During the battle, Katt claims he humiliated Steve on stage by exposing that Steve's high-top fade was actually a wig. The public embarrassment was too much for Steve to recover from, and according to Katt, this is why Steve never returned to the stand-up scene. Fast forward 7 months later, and Steve Harvey finally responds, but not in the way people were expecting. Rather than addressing Katt directly, Steve spoke in general terms about haters, claiming that no one could stop his rise and that he's protected by divine forces. When God got your back, no man can block what's meant for you. Haters can't stop what's destined for you. Steve's vague response left fans unimpressed. Many felt like he was dodging the real issues. One comment read, "Katt has receipts. Steve's vague hater talk won't cut it. He needs to own up or stay silent." Another added, "Steve's response feels forced, like he's avoiding the real problems Katt raised." But just when it seemed like Steve was content with brushing off the situation, his frustration finally boiled over. In a more recent interview, he threatened his so-called haters without naming Katt directly, saying, "Next time my haters mention me, I'm knocking them out." Fans quickly picked up on this sudden shift from Steve, who had kept things relatively civil until now. The delayed response, however, didn't sit well with many. It felt like Steve had waited too long to respond, and his threats came off as weak and out of character for someone who has built a clean, family-friendly image. And while Steve is out here talking about knocking out his haters, Katt Williams is probably laughing and waiting to see how this unfolds. Fans are watching closely to see how Katt will respond, and knowing Katt, he won't miss a beat. So what do you think? Is Steve's response the right move, or did it make him look even weaker? And how do you think Katt Williams will react to this threat? Let us know your thoughts in